Hello, and welcome to The Ticket, the podcast where we explore the cutting edge of customer service and support. I'm Bobby Stapleton, Senior Director of Human Support here at Intercom. In today's episode, we're diving into the core pillars that can drive exceptional customer service and business growth. Our guest today is Adrian Brady-Cesana, founder of CXChronicles, host of the CXChronicles podcast, and author of the 4 CX Pillars to Grow Your Business Now, the Customer Experience Manager Playbook. Adrian has over a decade of customer experience helping businesses optimize through his framework of the 4 CX pillars: team, tools, process, and feedback. Today, we'll explore how focusing on these pillars can lead to long-term success, and we'll hear insights from Adrian's conversations with customer-focused leaders across the globe. Adrian, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Bobby. Pumped to be here today, man.
So your book is centered around the 4 CX pillars: team, tools, process, and feedback. Can you give us a brief overview of these pillars and why they're essential?
100%. So number one, Bobby, I was in New York City for years, almost a decade, working at a plethora of different venture capital backed startup companies. And every single one of us has heard the age old, people, process, product, right? Every one of the executive leadership teams that I worked with and worked for, helping to build businesses, they would talk about people, process, product, people, process, product. And, by the time I got into my second or my third customer facing team construction build out from the foundation up, Bobby, like literally from the first person hired to the first tool to the first set of ways that we're going to deal with tickets and inbounds and all that fun stuff, it wasn't working for me anymore, brother. It was almost like every time people would talk about people, process, product, I was like, man, there's like something missing here. It feels like it's like a wobbly stool. So I started kind of talking about things a little bit different. I started kind of creating my own 4 buckets or my own 4 pillars of team, tools, process, and feedback. And it became a really easy way that number one, I could manage up the executive ladder to the different executive leadership teams that I was working for around things that were going really well, things that weren't going well, areas that we needed more resources, areas that we needed more sophistication, or areas where we needed a little bit of additional executive support, right? So that's kind of where it was born, and that's where it started. And then lastly, second of all, it was an easy way to manage down to the team, right? And whether it was in weekly, CX or CS or weekly support team meetings, it was a really easy way that we could kind of go around the horn or around the room with our team and almost get a gut check or get a fact check on whether or not the team felt the same way that I was reporting up to the executive team around how we were sort of doing across those 4 pillars. So that's kind of the quick and dirty.
I like that. And I like how you call that, like, this is very actionable, real life. You could ask anybody anywhere, like, what are these things? And they could probably give you their 2 cents.
100%, man.
So you've worked with many different startups and growing businesses. Like, when they go to use these 4 CX pillars, like, what are some of their biggest challenges and how do they go about implementing them?
So awesome question, Bobby. Number one, I think that it's super duper common. You guys know this like better than anybody in Intercom, right? We were working with 25,000 different accounts. We got over 200,000 global users. It's really, really common in the beginning of a business's life cycle or in the very beginning of a business being born or a startup being created for the founders to they understand maybe their total addressable market. They understand the problem that they're trying to go out there in the world and overcome or create solutions for. And it's really, really common to start building without actually thinking about maybe what that roadmap looks like, or maybe even generally, what direction are you trying to go? Or even what vessel are you going to try to get in to go to wherever the hell your goals are? And I think one of the big things that we've seen with all the clients that we've worked with at CX Chronicles, and then just with all the incredible people that we've been able to have on our show, Bobby, and all these awesome customer-focused business leaders from all sorts of different types of companies across the world, it's really common to just start building, going after wins, finding customers, getting growth, trying to find that up into the right type of trajectory that every single one of us needs to make sure that our business is actually on track, or it's doing something, or it's growing, or it's showing signs of actual life. It's living, it's breathing, right? And I think one of the big things that we've seen so many of the companies that come to CX Chronicles and look for ways around how they can optimize the 4 CX pillars, it's almost working backwards, man. It's like because they took off out of the gut so quick and they started running towards the solutions or running towards the problems that they're trying to solve in the world, they didn't slow down for a minute and think about maybe what type of a team was going to be required for success, what types of people on that team, what type of roles, what type of sophistication or complex or just general experiences were going to be needed to fill that early roles. When you get to tools, this is a common one. We talked about this at Pioneer in London a few weeks ago, brother, but like we talked about it a lot actually, but like it's super duper common to throw tools at problems. Oh, get another tool. Oh, the guy's having this problem, throw another tool at it. Oh, wait, the customers are having that problem, throw another tool at it. That's arguably one of the biggest problems, because then you start to just have an overload of all of this tech that becomes confusing for customers. It becomes confusing for the people that are taking care of your customers. Process, another one. You start building rapidly. Awesome, fantastic, good. But if nobody's taking the time in your business to slow down, pump the brakes, and a human, by the way, and then I know we're going to get into AI, Bobby, but like a human needs to take some time to outline all of the things that you're seeing on a daily basis, right? Chronically documenting, outlining, playbooking, all the different things that are happening. And then lastly, feedback, right? It's really, really common to start building or to start growing or to start just trying to blitz scale your way into the future without thinking about, how the hell am I going to get customer feedback? How am I going to get employee feedback? And if I'm building a product or if I'm building a service, how am I getting specific, direct, explicit feedback around the things that we're building every single solitary day to see if we can get a little bit better? So those are some of the common challenges. It's almost like, because people are so ready to rock and roll and they're so ready to just start building and growing and raising money and getting out there, which is awesome. Some of this stuff becomes an afterthought until you get to a place of scale, or you get to a place of growth, or you get to a place of a business size where all of a sudden this stuff does become important. You do need to slow down. You do need to have someone kind of come in and unpack some of these different themes and some of these different trends and some of these different buckets that we're kind of running through today.
And when you look at each of those 4 pillars, do you view them as equal pillars, or is there one that you recommend customers start off with first?
Well, I'll tell you what. So, I think, as we're almost to the 250th episode of CXChronicles podcast. I think for me, sure, it's important. For me, my brain always goes to team first, right? Because your team is going to literally dictate all of the downstream pillars, right? That's number one. But it's not really about me, Bobby. It's like, I've had the pleasure and I've had the fortune of hearing from CEOs and founders and CROs and CMOs and COOs and CCOs, all these incredible guys and gals across the world that are like building what me and you were thinking about every single solitary day, right? With building our CX or CS or support efforts with teams at huge companies, right? eBay and Microsoft and Venmo and Fubu TV and the list goes on. We've been so lucky to have all these incredible leaders coming on the show. Every one of them agrees that typically team is gonna be your paramount pillar, right? The team is literally, it's the first guys or gals on board that are gonna be able to unpack all this stuff. It's the first guys or gals on board that are actually gonna have intimate conversations and touch points and transactions with your customers. That's going to unpack all those other pillars downstream. And then lastly, it's the guys and the gals that are dealing with their customers every single solitary day. That oftentimes, and I know you guys know this in Intercom, we talked a bunch about this at Pioneer as well, but like, it's the front line, customer facing folks that are living, breathing, feeling, and tasting some of the shit that's going on with our customers every single solitary day. And oftentimes those are the people that are best positioned to really kind of understand how you want to orchestrate or how you want to build out those 4 pillars as your business grows and as your business scales into the future.
That makes a lot of sense. Seems like the right place to start. And, on this idea then of CX teams, like how can companies keep evolving and improving their teams to keep up with these ever-changing customer expectations?
So, I mean, number one, it's hard, right? Because there's a million different ways you can do this. People are constantly asking, like, Adrian, is there a perfect playbook, or is there a perfect roadmap for how? And then the answer is no, man. Like, this, you get the pleasure, just like me, brother. You get the pleasure of speaking to all these incredible folks from across the world at amazing companies. And I know this because like, it's something that like people like us are very fortunate to kind of hear all these different stories. But like, there's not a perfect way of doing this stuff, man. Every business, depending on what industry it's in, what vertical it's in, depending on what their goals are, depending on what their product is or what their service is or whatever willy or where they're pitching or selling out there to the world. Number one, all those things literally change the way that a CX team is going to be built. Those things are going to change the ways that a CX team is going to be led or managed. And frankly, those are going to be the things that actually dictate what the goals are that a team really needs to be directed or led to be able to every single solitary day, every single solitary week, and every single solitary month, you know, create these incredible customer experiences for your customers. I think, if you think about a couple of simple examples for how some of the best companies are doing it, number one, show me a craft or show me a sport or show me even like a musician who doesn't constantly get regular practice and investment in their craft, right? Whether it's the best footballer in the world or whether it's the best guitarist in the world, those people are practicing freaking constantly. Number one, they're training and practicing constantly. Number two, they get exposure to some of the best and the brightest and the most incredible coaches out there. So like taking time to like actually spend a couple bucks on your customer facing team and making sure that you're having, whether it's additional support for the leadership where they've got outside consultants or outside business leaders coming in and talking about the way that they've done things with their business and with their team. That's easy, right? That loads people's minds up with different ways of thinking about sort of how the game is played. It also loads people's lips up. Maybe different people come into your business and they say things a little bit differently, that all of a sudden some frontliner goes, wait, shit, Bobby and Adrian don't say it like that. I love how she said that. I'm going to take that to my next 50 customer phone calls, and then I'm going to work it, and I'm going to try to figure out if that's a way that I can kind of get people excited about things. So I think look, all sorts of companies kind of think about this a little bit different. They make different investments. They do different things with the ways that they're trying to evolve and optimize the CX team. But get creative. I guess my short answer to end this is get creative. Make sure that you're making investments. Make sure that you're actually taking time to put the right people or the right training or the right content or the right information or the right events even. Like some of the folks at Pioneer a few weeks ago, man, in London, like take the time to send some of your leaders to Pioneer so that they're actually in a room with hundreds of other guys and gals doing the same damn thing as them, talking about it maybe a little bit differently, talking about it intelligently. Those are some easy ways that you can really kind of get your team up and kind of get up and go in a quick type of way.
Yeah, and I love that, the idea of just being intentional about it, and especially in today's day and age where there's such a focus on, we'll talk about this in a bit, but focus on technology, on tech stacks, where are you incorporating AI agents, all that stuff. Like, yes to all that, but at the same time, you still need to be very intentional with how you're, like you said, training, developing, investing in your human support team as well, because all full circle. So I like that. So technology and tools have a huge impact on CS teams and on the customer experience. How do you advise businesses to think about software, and what do you think will be most important in this space in the future?
Okay, so I love this question. About full candor, when I started CXChronicles a little over 4 years ago, my original problem statement, the thing that made me crazy enough and silly enough to leave a fantastic full-time job leading a CX effort in a company that has since gone public, and an opportunity that I had one of the coolest roles in the company. But what got me so pumped up and cranked up and ready to just jump right off the damn plank and leave all of that to start building CX Chronicles, it was because at the time I thought the big problem out there in the world was that, here in the US alone, companies were losing at the time, this is 4 years, 3 months ago, $62 billion dollars a year due to poor customer experiences. By the way, that number has since gone up even higher. Like we're getting closer to 100 billion per year, which means this is a problem that doesn't go away. It's growing. It's a problem. I know that Owen, the CEO of Intercom, talks about this regularly, but like people talk about wanting to give excellent customer service and excellent support. They don't necessarily always do it, and the numbers show that. The numbers literally show that, like, businesses are still struggling to do some of the simple things to keep a customer engaged, informed, along the track, and feeling really, really good about the product or the service they bought from a company. And so if you ask me now, fast forward 4 years later, I actually think the bigger problem that we're out there helping our customers solve, and that we're doing a ton of content and that we're building for our community, get other customer-focused business leaders to think about this stuff like me and you, Bobby, is like, the world really has a software problem, right? In the next 5 years, companies globally are going to be spending $750 billion per year on their SaaS. And some of the best companies on planet Earth are seeing, and we literally talked, I think Paul Adams talked about this at Pioneer, at some of the best companies on planet Earth are seeing a 20 to 30% utilization rate of said software spend. That's crazy. So to get to your question, like, one of the first things that we do at CX Chronicles when we engage with some of our clients, we actually do a little bit slower and a little bit more deliberate way of unpacking things. We start with a customer journey map, or we start with the user journey map, and we go through all the areas of from the very beginning of when a customer starts a journey all the way to the end when you're supposed to be bringing them back through the loop and do the loyalty, but we bring them through awareness, consideration, conversion. We bring them through onboarding. We bring them through account management. We bring them through loyalty and retention. And I'm going through this really quick, but when you're working with a team of SMEs around a table, and you see all the intricacies of touch points and customer consternation points, employee consternation points, all of the data or the metrics that matter across that journey. All of a sudden, you've just basically dumped all of the puzzle pieces out onto the table for what a brilliant tech stack needs to look like. And all of a sudden, you start to see things like, wait a minute, cool. Instead of like, I don't know, instead of having 17 tools, maybe we only need 3 tools that do some of these things extremely well. And this is where, and this is one of the biggest reasons why CXC is a super proud strategic partner with Intercom. It's like, there's a handful of tools out there that if your team number one understands how they're going to be used to orchestrate or manage or guide your journey, number one, that simplifies a bunch of things. But number two, if your team gets really, really excellent at utilizing a few tools, instead of kind of having like this tech stack that just never ends and it just keeps growing and growing and growing as the business scales, that's hard, man. That's hard for people to understand which tools they need to focus on. It's hard for them to understand from a utilization perspective which tools they need to really master. And then lastly, when your business starts to scale, your business starts to grow. This is why voice of customer or voice of product reporting becomes so damn difficult, because instead of having maybe 2 or 3 key tools managing your entire journey, you got 17 different pieces of software. This is when you start to get into the world where the Bobbies and the Adrians of the world need to have somebody on the analytics team or somebody on the data science team who's our best friends, helping us to aggregate, normalize, and actually blend all of this data together so that we can actually report up and down the ladder around what we're doing excellent, what we're doing shitty, what we need more work on, what we need less work on, all of that. So that's the way that we kind of think about it. And lastly, along the way, it's just listening to your employees, man. And I know that you guys do this extremely well at Intercom, Bobby, but from some of my conversations with Declan and you, like, if you're not listening to the best and the brightest who are running your customer facing team, and you're not understanding what works for them, what doesn't work, which tools they love, which tools they hate, that's going to be an easy place to get started, because I think simplification and sort of slimming things down becomes where you really can master a few tools that are going to be able to lead you and lead your business and lead your customer base into the future.
Yeah, and both of that's like really that's really good tactical advice. Like going through that customer journey map, pinpointing how the technology is feeding into that, whether it's working well, whether it's working not, or like you said, going directly to your team and asking them. We obviously use Intercom, but we try to be some of the toughest critics for our product teams, and we're like, hey, this part's great, this part's not. What are
Sure.
we doing to fix
Yeah.
it? Because we can see the
Yep.
impact it's having on us, and then on the customer experience too. So that makes a lot of sense. You emphasize the importance of like a living playbook as part of that process pillar. Tell us a little bit more about that, and can you give us an example of like a journey map or part of this playbook?
100%. So, okay, a couple things. Number one, many of the businesses that we work with, Bobby, are venture capital backed startup companies, and they're emerging companies. They're going to be tomorrow's leading companies, right? They've found product market fit. They've raised some form of capital. They've already got a book of business, or they got their initial customers, proving that the thing that they went out there to in the world to build, it's working, right? It's a real living, breathing business. They've got customers, they've got employees, they've got product, they've got services, all that. Um, when we started 4 years ago, some of our early customers, what we would do in traditional or typical type of like consulting land, works, we'd come in and we'd say, all right, let's start with your knowledge base. Let's start with your confluence of knowledge. Let's start with, where can we see the things that if I'm a brand new employee, I would be given the book tomorrow to be able to understand exactly what the hell, where to start, right? A starting point, somewhere that I can start kind of chewing in and seeing what the team is about, what the tools are about, et cetera. And what we kept finding was like people would say, oh, we don't have that. It's like, okay, fine. That's fine. It's totally fine. But when we started realizing the importance of living playbooks was then as we started to kind of create more of these strategic partners with companies like Intercom, for example, we started to realize, wait a minute, if we don't have a playbook, if we don't have something that's a living, breathing document that minimally once a month or once a quarter, at a minimum, it's got to be every 90 days, guys, 'cause come on, something's not right in your company if your playbook ain't evolving every 90 days, right? Or somebody ain't doing something right. But basically, it became a way that we could literally go through, and it was also full candor. It was a way that we continued to validate that the 4-pillar model was actually pretty black and white, pretty easy for people to understand, and pretty easy to kind of bring people through the journey of how we were trying to map or chronicle what the 4 pillars really meant to the business. And so it also became something that we realized, before the business starts to scale, or before your customer facing team is going to go from maybe, 5 or 10 individuals running all the tickets, all the comms, all of the resolutions, all the things that are going on the day-to-day basis, if you don't have a playbook, or if you don't have something that's living and breathing and evolving, how the hell are you going to double that team? How are you going to double that team on top of it? And some of the companies that we've had the pleasure of working with, Bobby, they've scaled super duper fast. So like we'll start working with a business that's got 10 or 15 reps, and maybe a year later there's 50 people on the team, which is fantastic. That's awesome. But like, if you're not taking the time to manage that tribal knowledge, chronicle those details, constantly be evolving the way that somebody is documenting the way that people need to think about it, or at least giving people an opportunity to be able to dig in and make their own amends around sort of what they're seeing inside the business, that's a fail. I think the last thing is this. The last big thing is just that um, take Intercom, for example. Every single SaaS solution out there has already done the job for all of us of building some area where we can put the knowledge base, or we can put agent answers, or we can put agent assist types of ideas or cues into the damn software. It's like every SaaS company gets it. They're teeing this up for us to be able to plop it right into the window that we're already sitting on every single day. So it became an easy way for us to really kind of start with like, look, if we don't have SOPs, or if we don't have some of this stuff mapped, one of the first things that we're going to deliver and give back to you is going to be your initial living playbook. And then oftentimes what we would do is we would work with our project champions and the teams that we're working with at CXC to sort of identify or ignite which guy or gal is going to own that stuff moving forward from a controlling and a monitoring perspective. Because again, like, come on, man, like I can't even imagine how fast you guys move at Intercom, but like some of the clients that we're working with at CXC, every week, let alone every month, there's a whole bunch of game-changing, curveballs being thrown at the team and being thrown at the customer. So like that playbook is also very much intended to be updated on a regular basis, and it helps your customer-facing team. It can also, if it's done properly, guys, it can literally be leveraged from an FAQ perspective for your external customers as well, right? So like that's the way that we kind of think about playbooks, and that's sort of one of the big reasons why we're always very very loud and very proud about why it's absolutely critical to be chronicling some of these things as your business scales or as your business evolves into the future.
Yeah, and to that point, like, that content is now so cross-functional. Like, what started off as, well, we need it for the team to reference, maybe we can repurpose it to something customer facing. Now it's also the food, the content that's going into these AI agents. So you have this
Big time.
it's this holistic picture that is not only helping your team, but helping everything across the board. So it's always been important, but it was easy to kick to the back burner. And what I'm hearing from you is it's like it's now just ever more important. So
Bobby, before we jump off, I'm glad you brought that up, man. I remember I had a fantastic conversation with Declan Ivory when I was in Dublin a few weeks ago, literally around this point. And what Declan and I talked about was it's almost like, and it was post Pioneer too. So we had lots of ideas floating around in our head. We had just done Pioneer, and then I was in Dublin for SaaS Talk, and what you just said. This is an excellent point. Everybody talks about AI, 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 and I love it too. I promise you, I love it just as much as everybody else. But you just brought up a fantastic point, man, that Declan and I sort of unpacked together in the Intercom offices in Dublin, and there's different types of content that's going to drive the future of AI forward. I remember when I was in your London offices, I asked Brian Doherty a question about content to fuel even Intercom AI. And he looked at me like, and I said, the question that I asked was something along the lines, Bobby, which medium of content do you and your team on the engineering side think is going to be most paramount? And he looked at me like he's like, who's this silly American in the back here asking this question? But when I went and got it afterwards, I go, hey, I saw the confusion about the question. I only asked the medium because I'm a podcaster. I'm a content guy. So like when you said that there's a big opportunity for content, I immediately started thinking, what's Brian thinking? Podcast, ebook, e-guide, written word for it. And he goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. So one of the things Declan and I are talking about, like your point about fueling AI, there's going to be AI focused content fuel. There's going to be human being content focused fuel, because like outside of all the things that are happening with an AI engine, human beings still need to understand how to think about this stuff. There was a report from Forbes last week. 72% of the American workforce doesn't have a freaking clue how they're going to have to think about leveraging AI to keep their job or to keep their job safe in the
oh
near
man.
future. That's nuts. Like there's things to think about there where there's all these different forms of content that we really kind of need to think about as we move forward into the future.
Yeah. 72, it's a high number. So, Adrian, you've interviewed hundreds of customer service leaders on your podcast. What common traits or strategies do you see among companies that truly excel in customer experience?
So awesome question, man. So number one, I think that this has been a bit of our superpower or a magic sauce at CXChronicles is the fact that we've literally been able to, and dude, you have the same thing, Bobby. You've gotten to work, interview all these incredible business leaders, but like for us, it's a couple things. Number one is just hearing all these different stories, trends, and themes. I think the first thing that I call out on the near 250 episodes we're at with CXC, the founders or the CEOs actually give a fuck about their customers. That's number one, meaning there is actually a care or a concern. It's not just about maximizing the top of the cap table. It's not just about returning board of director results that are going to be keeping them safe. It's not just about internal personal net worth increases in evaluation. That stuff's all nice, by the way. I promise you, I'm a capitalist too. I'm all about those things too. But the one common thing is that those founders and those CEOs, they truly believe that if they care about the customer experience above all else, all of these other things are going to fall in line downstream. So that's number one. Number two, there has been an intense investment and buy-in to their employees. It's not said enough, man, but it is almost impossible to build world-class customer experiences without absolute dynamite employee experiences. The best companies, dude, I think about all these folks who come on the ticket, man. Every single one of them spends half the episode talking about employees and employee service and employee education and employee training, employee investment, because the only way you're going to get those world-class customer experiences, if you have guys and gals that can't wait to show up to work every single solitary day, they're going to work as long as they need to work, as hard as they need to work, and they're going to do whatever the hell it takes to give that customer on the other side of the phone or the other side of the aisle from them an incredible customer experience. So number two is the employees, the intense passion and just general investment in employees. And then number three, man, it's sharpening the damn pencil. I think some of the very best folks that we've had the fortune of interviewing in the CXChronicles podcast, they're just constantly investing in both customer and employee experience. So whether they're a product company or a service company, and regardless of what type of industry or vertical they're in, they're constantly spending money on their people. They're spending money on their customers to understand how they can do better. They're spending money on their employees to sharpen and sophisticate them, help them increase their knowledge, increase their ability to serve those customers. So that investment in people, both customer and employee, would be my third one.
I love that. It's great advice. Well, Adrian, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate you making the time.
100%, Bobby. Thank you so much, man. It's been my pleasure.
Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at intercom.com/blog/newsletter to stay updated with the latest trends in customer service and support. Make sure to check out our sister podcast, Intercom on Product, for insights into product design and development. You can find it on your preferred podcast platform or by visiting intercom.com/product podcast. You'll find all the links in the episode description. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time on The Ticket.